Getting the live stream set up. Okay, we should be good to go here. Move that over and we should be set. So hello, welcome everybody to how to maximize your lead flow with pay-per-click, and of course, Google Ads being the main piece of that, right? Google Ads is the monster when it comes to all of the things related to advertising, pay-per-click related advertising on your for your business. There are other players as well, which we will talk about a little bit more detail later on. But thank you for jumping on. I do appreciate it. What we're going to cover today is why pay-per-click really is the key to unlimited scalability in the terms of how many leads you want. It really just becomes a matter of if you put $1 in and $2 or $5 or $10 comes out, how many dollars do you want to put in? There's pretty unlimited scalability from that point. A couple examples of pay-per-click campaigns that are generating really good leads, how to set up and structure your marketing campaign really to lower the cost for every lead that comes in, and of course, maximize your ROI. Everybody loves that, right? And then we'll talk a little bit about key performance indicators, tracking, landing pages, some things like that you really should know as well. Now, if you've been on any of my webinars in the past or any of my workshops, you'll know that we have something we call the digital dominance method. And really, this is an 8-step piece to all of the different things that you can do related to digital marketing for your business. No, it's not just one thing that you can turn on and the leads start coming in. There are all kinds of different pieces. And I'm sure that you've heard these at random chamber meetings, things of that sort. Oh, you should be doing social media. Oh, you should be doing pay-per-click. Oh, you really should be doing your newsletter, right? All these different things. Yeah, they all work together. And pay-per-click is just one piece of the system. And you'll notice that is in the step number 2. So your step 1 really should be building your foundation, building your website. That's your hub. And that's where your search engine optimization, that's where everything is going to start. Once you have that in place, the next step is Google Ads, running ads on Bing, running ads on some of these other networks. So it's all just part of the overall strategy to really dominate your area. So please turn off your cell phones. Don't look at cats on Facebook. And of course, if you're serious about doubling or tripling the amount of leads that you're getting now, this is a fantastic way to do it. Real quick about me, I'm the author of 2 books related to window treatments and awnings and generating digital leads. I'm on the board of directors for the Custom Home Decor Network, active member of the WCAA and the IFAI, which is the awning side. Spoken at a lot of events over the years. I'm speaking at the WF Vision Expo in April of next year. I'm actually teaching a half-day master class on SEO. And then I've got 3 other sessions there as well. So if you're going to that, I'd love to have an opportunity to meet you there as well. We are a family-owned business. My daughter is our lead web developer. Her name's Amber. I always say that she makes things pretty. I make them work. So it's a good partnership. We won the top 50 fastest growing companies from Small Business Monthly. We've won the SEO blog top rated SEO agency 2 years in a row now. Pretty excited about that. And we are a veteran-owned business as well. This is what we do. This is part of what we do is Google AdWords, Google Ads, Google Analytics, digital marketing. We are a Google partner, and this is exactly kind of what we do for window treatment and awning businesses across the country. I do want to mention I do have a couple freebies at the end. If you stick around and want some freebies, I'd be happy to show you how to get some really cool stuff that will get you started on the track of a successful digital marketing campaign. And then lastly, I'd love to make this interactive. If anyone has any questions during the workshop, please unmute yourself, ask the question, put it into the chat if you prefer. I'll keep my eye on the chat here, And I want to make sure that everybody has their answers that they're hoping to get. I want to make sure that I'm clarifying anything that maybe is coming across incorrectly or not just great. And just feel free to jump in. Let me click here. There we go. So let's start out with a quick little conversation. And again, you can unmute yourself. You can use the chat if you'd prefer to do that. But I'd love to hear from you guys. Have you used pay-per-click as part of your lead generation in the past? Or are you using it now? Definitely would love to hear from some of you guys. Have you used, maybe it's Google Ads, Facebook ads, Houzz, Pinterest. There's a lot of different places to run ads. Have any of you run ads in the past? Thanks for all those that just jumped on. We're just having a quick conversation around ads. Have you used any of the pay-per-click services in the past, Google Ads, anything like that? You can unmute yourself if you just want to answer and talk live, or you can plug it into the chat. Simple yes or no is fine, or something a little bit more detailed. Carl says yes, a lot of them. Okay, that's good. I'm assuming if you say a lot of them, that means that it's a successful campaign. Like I said earlier, you're putting $1 in and $1 or $2 is coming out, hopefully. That's good. Bobby says, yes, that's awesome. Good. I'm glad to see that you guys are using them. A lot of times I'll have conversations with window treatment or awning company owners, and they'll say, yeah, I ran some ads and it was a waste of $1,000, right? Google's really good about sending you some sort of a postcard with a promo code for $150 worth of free ads, right? Before you know it, you're $500, you're $1,000 in, and it hasn't generated many, if any, leads. That happens a lot, and people tend to kind of get burned out on it and say, well, that didn't work, right? But there's a lot of tricks to it and nuances to really get it right. But thank you for sharing. I do appreciate that. So let's jump in. Should pay-per-click marketing be part of my overall internet strategy? Now, again, we talked about the digital dominance method. It is one of the 8 things that you should be doing at a high level for your business that really does generate leads if it's done right. Yes, obviously it should be part of the strategy. You can start showing up quickly, typically within a couple hours of launching a campaign. It's live. You can show up as often as possible. Obviously, there's a budget side to that, right? You can show up as much as you want. Google will show your ad everywhere if you're willing to pay for that. I think it's more important to be showing up where your customers are looking, right? That makes the more sense. Showing up for non-geo-modified terms. So by non-geo-modified, I mean it doesn't have a location tied to it. So typically, a lot of people will type in, drapery store near me or something like that. That's a geo-modified location. So you can start to show up for some of these more generic terms. The other thing about these generic terms is they're much harder to rank for on the SEO side because there's just tons of competition for those top keywords. Not saying it's impossible, but it's definitely something that you can't just start ranking for because you decide you want to. It's a longer process. So by doing pay-per-click, that can get you into that conversation a lot faster. And as I mentioned, unlimited scalability. Really, the only limit there is the geographic size of how far you would drive for a lead or how far you would fly for a lead, possibly, right? So let's talk a little bit about why most of these campaigns fail. And I kind of mentioned this earlier. A lot of business owners will get the card, get the postcard, the promo code, plug them in, and it'll just seem like it's just money going down the drain. So one of the things that happens is business owners fail to understand how the auction process works. Every ad in the system is basically on an auction process. And of course, the complexity of how the industry works together with that auction process. And again, Google's really good at not telling you that stuff, right? They just want you to plug your credit card in and go. Another one that we see as a failure a lot is you set up one ad group for all of your services. So you're running ads for every different thing that you do inside what we call one ad group. And you're serving the same ads, whether that person is looking for window treatments or shades or repair or cleaning, right? Those should all be different types of messages going to those different types of searchers, quite honestly. You don't use specific ads or landing pages for different groups of keywords, kind of tied to the one above. If somebody's typing in reupholstery near me, and you land them on a generic page or your homepage or something like that, and make them go search for that particular service, not the greatest user situation for them. So they're very likely not to convert into a client. So use very specific ads for very specific groups of keywords or types of keywords. Also, no strong call to action or offer on the landing page. So if somebody does click your ad and lands on a page, there should always be an obvious next step, whether that's set an appointment, fill out a form, click here to download our thing, whatever that is. It needs to be obvious what the next step is for that person. So no strong call to action can really hurt you as well. And probably the biggest one here, like I mentioned earlier, is having the wrong landing page. Driving all of your search ads, all of the different ads to your homepage is probably the worst scenario that you could do. And that's typically what we do by default. We're like, well, I want more people to come to my website. I'll dump them all to my homepage. That makes the most sense. But in reality, the best scenario is people that are searching for draperies land on your drapery page or a landing page related specifically to that with pictures of that product and copy that talks to that particular product as well. Definitely don't just want to drive them to your homepage. And that's always a big mistake. It sounds logical, but not always the case. Now, when it comes to the perfect lead gen strategy, there really should be a partnership between pay-per-click and search engine optimization or SEO. SEO takes a while to ramp up. It takes a while to get you from if you're on page 10 of some search result and you get all the way up to page 3 or something like that, you're still not going to see a lot of traffic from it, right? You're not going to see a lot of ROI until you get to page 1, maybe page 2, but probably not. Most people tend to make their decisions from page 1, or they retype their query, they retype their search now. So if you're not on page 1, you're not going to be found. So pay-per-click becomes that perfect marriage with, while your SEO is building a way to get into that conversation while the other one's ramping up. So that is really the perfect scenario. And we'll talk a little bit more about costs. We'll talk about how they complement each other, that kind of stuff here in a little bit as well. So any questions so far before I jump into a little bit more details about Google Ads? All right, I don't see anything. If you do have a question, feel free to unmute and or put it into the chat. And I'll try to keep an eye on that and we'll get your questions answered as well. So when it comes to Google ad types, there are actually 4 different types of ads that you can run on the Google Ad Network. The one that most people are familiar with is search ads. When somebody is searching for a specific product, service, something, they can see your ad as one of the results on that page. Very common, everybody's used to that. But there are some other ways that you can get in front of people. App ads is one of those. If you've ever played a game on a phone, you know that sometimes ads show up in the middle of those games in order for you to get another life or whatever it is, gain more coins, or, obviously depends on the game. But you can get into that mix and show your ads to people in the middle of those games as well. and not just games, apps in general. There are a lot of different kinds of apps that are ad supported as well. Video ads. So at the beginning of YouTube videos, and sometimes in the middle of YouTube videos, you can have ads show up as well, and you can be in that mix as well. That's becoming more and more effective. And display ads. Display ads are ads that are running on other websites that are maybe similar to the audience that you're trying to reach. And these are third-party partners with Google that are showing they're showing Google's ads on their website in exchange for a piece of the click price when somebody clicks on that ad. So there's a lot of different ways to run ads for your business. Now, one really cool thing that you can do is custom audiences. And custom audiences is a way to give a list of people to Google, and Facebook and some of these other platforms do this as well, that you can then specifically target or exclude from showing ads to. Obviously, targeting customers that you know, right? All your past customers, if you have their email addresses, their names, their phone numbers, anything like that, you can upload that list to Google as a custom audience and then save that as past customers. And then when you have a special or something like that, you can run those, you can run an ad specifically to those people if you want. Other way around, you could actually exclude current/past customers if you're only trying to reach new customers. So again, you would upload that list of past customers and then say, Google show ads to all except for these people, right? So that's one way to do it. And then there's also something called lookalike audiences. And lookalike audiences are a group of people that when you upload an audience, let's say you upload again your past customers, Google will take that list of people, they will reverse engineer demographics related to that person, that type of person, that persona. If you've been on any of my past workshops, you know I love to talk about personas and understanding your audience really well. Google will kind of reverse engineer that, and they will say, well, here's a group of people that are like the people that you uploaded that would probably want to also purchase from you. So those are typically called lookalike audiences, and you can upload those as well, or you can build those inside the system as well. So lots of different ways beyond just, I want to show my ad to everybody within 25 miles of my location, right? This makes it a little bit more specific and kind of lowers your cost per click because it's a more specific group that you're trying to reach. So let's talk about how to structure your marketing campaign for two things: maximum cost per lead or minimum cost per lead. So you want to get those lead costs as low as possible, obviously, and at the same time increase your ROI for the money you're spending. So conversion tracking, first piece of this, it is a must. We have moved all of our clients from the old Google Analytics system to Google Tag Manager. And Tag Manager lets you control a lot more things, including all of the conversion tracking. So what this does, puts some code on your site that every time somebody fills out a form, every time somebody sets an appointment, Google knows about that action that was taken. And again, when it comes to custom audiences, they can kind of reverse engineer, well, this kind of person went all the way through the process and set up an appointment. So we probably want to build an audience that has more of those kind of people. So the way to do that is by having the conversion tracking in place. So that's definitely a huge piece of it. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, your campaign needs to be broken into smaller ad groups that are targeting all of the different products and or services that you provide, so that when somebody's typing in drapery near me, they are seeing drapery related ads, drapery related landing pages. You know, the process is all very similar to what they were searching for. So it has to start with breaking these into smaller ad groups and then targeting those groups. You also need to have a strong understanding of how the different keyword match types work. And don't forget about negative keywords. We're going to talk more about both of those here in a couple minutes. Obviously, you need to write compelling ads that resonate with what the customer typed in. And you also need to be considering the personas that you've built. What kind of things are what kind of pain points do these customers have that I can write an ad that would talk to those pain points? It's not always just about writing an ad that says, hey, we're the best drapery store in town, click here, right? You need to write more compelling ads and really try to get them to click on your ad over your competitors' ads. So a couple things that you can do that will help with this. Ad extensions, and I'll mention this again a little bit later, but if you see this, this search here for window treatments Denver, this first ad from 3 Day Blinds has a couple indented additional things that you can click on: schedule now, design styles, curtains and drapery, shades. So those are ad extensions, and look at how much more room that particular ad takes over the two competitors below it, right? Having these ad extensions can really help make your ad stand out. And quite honestly, there's 5 ways for somebody to click on your ad and versus 1 for the other 2 competitors. Ido, I don't know if I said that right. Sorry for the annoying question. Will I be able to receive a link of the recording of this webinar? Yes, I'll send it out tomorrow. You will get a recording. All right. Second, you have to land visitors on a solid, well thought out page that are built to convert. If you've ever been through any of our presentations or our sales presentation, you know that we're big on conversion. We don't just want more visitors. We want visitors that are going to take action and convert into a client, or at least convert into a lead, right? So having pages that make that funnel more possible, very important. And then third, ongoing testing, tweaking, fine tuning. You have to remember that there are competitors out there that are doing the same thing. And if they are tweaking their ads to continually show above you, you can't just throw more money at it to get to the top. You have to be doing some different tweaking to get your quality score up. Google has a quality score system that they watch every ad. So it's not just who's spending the most. That's a big part of it with the auction style. But there are other factors in place. If Google's customer is having a poor experience when they click your ad, they are less likely to show that ad because they want their customers, i.e. the searchers, to have a good experience going through the Google platform. So don't even think about spending another penny until you have conversion tracking in place. Definitely a big piece of this. When it comes to conversion tracking, a couple things that are real important. Dynamic number swapping. So we do this for all of our clients. All of our clients have a special phone number that goes on their website, a special number that goes on their Google My Business profile, now called Google Business Profile, and special number that goes on any pay-per-click landing page. And what that lets you do is if somebody is coming to one of these different properties of yours and landing and picking up the phone and calling and converting into a lead, you want to be able to track that back to what property generated that lead, right? So having specific numbers on these different properties will help you make sure that happen. If you just list your office number on all of these, then you don't know what generated that lead in the first place. Now you could you could ask the caller, how did you find out about us? But a lot of times they don't tell the truth, and maybe not on purpose. They just say, I don't know, I Googled you, right? Maybe that's what they did. Maybe they did something a little bit differently, but not understanding what things are working well for you can really hurt. So having those dynamic numbers in place is a huge piece of that, and it plugs a big leak for knowing your ROI moving backwards. Same thing, a keyword pool with dynamic swapping so that you can actually track all the way back from what keyword did they type in when they picked up the phone and called us. So there are some really cool things you can do with this. Obviously, web form tracking, the forms on your website, when they're filled out, they should be able to be tracked backwards to what generated that lead, what page did they land on, how did they find us in the first place, and then conversion tracking built into your AdWords campaign or your Google Ads campaign to determine which ad group generated the lead. So we talked about ad groups earlier on, having all of the different services and products by ad group can really help with that as well. All right, most important key performance indicators. Obviously, total spend. That's kind of a no-brainer. But then we start to get into some things that can be adjusted and upwards or downwards, depending on what they are, right? Average cost per click. So how much are you paying every time somebody clicks on one of your ads? Whether or not they convert, you're still paying for the click. So you want to try to get those click costs lower. And then average cost per lead, obviously, same thing. You want to get those lower as well. Here's some numbers just thrown out, and they're kind of normalized for the entire US. So they're going to be different per region. Typically, window treatments, $15 to $35 per lead. Awnings, higher, $35, $70 per lead. So you definitely want to lower that number as low as you can get it, right? And then, of course, get some sort of an ROI where you're putting $1 in, $3 are coming out, something like that. So what's working now? Two things that are working now very well is map ads. This is what we call the Google 3-pack. And the important thing about the 3-pack is most mobile users are making their decisions from the 3-pack of results. They are not scrolling down to what we call the organic listings or the organic rankings. They're making their decision from the 3-pack. And they're making that decision in part from how many reviews your business has, obviously how many stars you have for those reviews. I've seen companies with 7, 10 reviews, but an average of 2 or 3 stars, right? They just got a bunch of negative reviews. So that's an important piece of this. So one way that you can weasel into this 3-pack is by running a Google Map ad, which actually kind of makes it a 4-pack, right? You can see American Awn and Blind Company here has an ad in there, probably because they haven't done enough work on the search engine side to get in here naturally. Or it's a bigger competition. In this case, Awnings Los Angeles. That's a lot of competition for a search phrase like that. So they wanted to get into this conversation. One way they do it is by running ads specifically in the maps area. I can't say enough about this. GMB, Google My Business, now called Google Business Profile as of earlier this week, definitely is a big key to success for window treatment and awning companies and any kind of home service related company. But running those ads can really get you into that conversation, and they put you at the top too, which is even nicer, right? So definitely getting in there is huge. Also, I mentioned this earlier, running YouTube ads, pre-roll ads or mid-roll ads. If you have created a commercial, anything like that you're doing, these are definitely working well. And these work the best, obviously, in retargeting situations. So somebody came to your website and then went on, did something else later on that day. They pulled up YouTube, wanted to watch a video. Your video shows up first. And then after they watch your video, then they can watch the one they wanted to watch. So that's a pre-roll. So these kind of videos are successful. They're doing very well, and they're not expensive. I think this particular client of ours was getting like 2-cent views, which is obviously super cheap, right? So every 2 cents that he spent, he got in front of 2 eyeballs, I guess we could say. YouTube ads are definitely a good part of a going forward strategy of what is working now very well. All right, let me check and see if there's any questions. No questions yet. Okay. All right, so let's go on and talk about structuring your campaign. Well, we've mentioned this a couple times. You have to break it into smaller ad groups that target the specific different products, services, things like that, so that it matches when somebody's typing something in. First of all, they could be three different ways, right? Brand campaigns. So if they're typing in your brand name, you should have an ad running to your own website when somebody types in brand related queries for you. And then, of course, general window treatment searches, awning searches, those kind of things. Soft treatments when it comes to draperies, curtains, swags, valves, some of these different things. Hard treatments, blinds, shades, shutters, all of these different things should all be broken into their own areas. And then additional reupholstery if somebody's looking for a workroom or interior design, cleaning, repair. Now, the other side of this is if you don't do these things, then you would not want to build these out, right? And then you could even get a little bit more specific when it gets down to like commercial type searches. Maybe make some very specific landing pages that maybe don't get a ton of searches, but when they do, they're very specific searches. And then build ads, multiple ads for each of these different ad groups. We typically build 3 to 6 ads for every single ad group. And then over time, you see which one's working best and turn the other ones off, right? So that you can really kind of start to generate a little bit better information and get more leads that way. So when it comes to the different types of keywords, there are 4 different types of keywords. Broad match, which is somebody's typing something in related to window treatments. And Google understands how all of these words work together. And they might say, you know, if you're bidding on window treatments and somebody types in drapery store near me, they might show your ad. Even though you're bidding on window treatments, broad match, they might still show your ad. Then we have what's called modified broad match, very similar to broad match, but by adding the plus sign, it says, hey, Google, this word has to be one of the words in the phrase that they're looking for. So they could be typing in something like, are there any window treatment stores near me, right? So since window treatments was in that phrase that they were searching for, your ad could show. Next is phrase match. And phrase match means, again, this phrase needs to be in the search. It doesn't have to be exactly just this phrase, but it needs to be before, after, in the middle of the entire search. So something like, are there any awnings in Dallas? Or maybe it should be awning stores. Are there any awning stores in Dallas near me, right? That would be a phrase match that would work in that situation. And then lastly is exact match. And exact match means I only want to show my ads to people that exactly type this in and nothing else. So if they type Dallas drapery, my ads will show up. If they type in Dallas drapery near me, ad would not show up. It has to be an exact match in that case. So these are the 4 different keyword types. We tend to kind of stay away from the broad match because Google wants to match things up the best they can. And it can be a pretty big waste of your budget in a lot of cases because they're just kind of grasping for different things to throw a recipe together, I guess you could say. You definitely want to be a little bit more specific about which keywords and how they're showing up, how your ads are showing up for those different types. Also, negative keywords. Did want to make sure that I brought that up. There are times when people are typing for window treatment jobs, something like that. Probably don't want your ads to show up for those. Careers, a car, an association, anything like that could be. And then a lot of our clients will also run negative keywords on words like cheap and discount and Home Depot and Lowe's and those kind of things. Some of our clients run negative keywords on competitors. And by the way, a negative keyword means if this word shows up in the person's query, then don't show my ad, right? So I don't want to show my ad if they're typing in, even though if they're typing in window treatments and I want my ad to show up that, if they add the word jobs, don't show my ad, right? So that's how these work. Also, since Google does understand how words work together, this could be a situation where you want to start to put in negative keywords related to products you don't really want to sell, maybe something you don't have a lot of margin on, like blinds, right? You're up against the Home Depot and Lowe's and Costco and some of these services. It may not be worth the money or the ROI to run ads on something like blinds. Now, that's a little bit a generic statement, but hopefully you understand the idea that if it's low margin, you may actually want to add that as a negative keyword so that your ads are not showing for those. Lastly, misspelled keywords. Don't forget about these. Sometimes people type in brand searches related to yours that are misspelled, and these will all show up in the Google Ads system over time. So this is actually a screenshot from this client of searches that were made recently for ads that we showed of yours. And we see that this one had a misspelling in it. So at that point, we can grab that and say, show my ad when people do this, or don't show my ad when people do this. So it's really nice. You can add different negative or positive words in there as you see them coming through the system, which is kind of cool. Also, you notice the competitor in here. We've had mixed results with competitor ads. You have to be careful for trademarks. You don't want to get in any kind of situation legally where you're doing something you shouldn't be. But beyond that, some clients have good luck running ads for competitors, and some don't. I'd probably say more don't than do have luck with running those ads. A lot of times, somebody will run an ad for the guy down the street, Joe's Awnings, and somebody will call and say, and you'll answer and say, Will's Awnings. Oh, I thought I was calling Joe's. Never mind. And they hang up, right? You still paid for that conversion. You paid for that phone call, those kind of things. So in a lot of cases, it doesn't work. There are situations where you can convert them to an appointment, to a lead, and maybe it's worth it at that point. It just really depends on, obviously, how many competitors there are, how they compare to you, things like that. But I do want to make sure that I mentioned that so that you're thinking about that. Here's a search for Sunshine Drapery. And in this case, you can actually see that Proctor Drapery is running a search for, or running an ad when somebody types in a competitor. So it's definitely something you can do. I don't know how much luck they're having with this, but maybe they are. So let's talk about creating compelling ads. Less is more in a lot of cases. Again, you don't want to just be super aggressive. You just kind of want to match what they were searching for. You want to tell them what to do. What is the next step? Whether that is give us a call, set up an appointment, something like that. If you do have a special offer, make sure that you reference that in the ad if you can. And then remember AdScent. AdScent is how something smells, quite honestly, how the process smells. So they see your ad, they click on it because it has certain words in there that they probably typed in. Then they land on a page that again has those words, has that phrasing, that kind of stuff on there. And then when they get to the set an appointment page or something like that, everything just seems the same, right? You're not going from, even from a design standpoint, you're not going from a blue and orange to red to green. It's not crazy different where they're like, wait, am I still on the same website? So just remember AdScent as part of what you're doing, and give them one decision. Don't give them a bunch of things to do, or customers will try. I want to say analysis paralysis, but that's not it. There's too many decisions. where it comes that they just don't make any decision from that. So stay away from too many decisions. And that's why landing pages are a lot nicer than dumping somebody to your home page, because you can control it a lot more, which page they're landing on. So a couple of great performing ads have a couple really good things with them. Obviously, the extensions are a big piece of that. Sorry about that. Having the right things in the right places. Trust factors is a big thing, right? Trusted design homes for over 50 years. And then next step, set up a free in-home consultation right now. So these kinds of ads are direct, but the person knows exactly what they're getting into when they click through to one of these. In the back end, there's some really cool things you can do with keyword replacement. You can replace keywords dynamically in an ad group when somebody types something in. So in this case, for these keywords, curtains, shades, drapery, draperies, and 6 others, if somebody types one of those phrases into Google, our ad can show up, but you can see right here under headline 1, keyword window treatments. So what it does is it replaces window treatments with one of the keywords that they typed in if it matches one of these up above. So in this case, if I typed in curtains St. Louis, the ad would actually say find curtains now. So really cool way to start to dynamically show exactly what the person was typing in, right? We want that ad sent. We want that to go all the way through. This is a great way to go about doing that and keeping and not building, in this case, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different keyword sets worth of ads. So you can start to do a little bit of dynamic related stuff. And then the other thing is ad extensions. These are really cool things that you can add on. And we saw that earlier on with that 3-day blinds thing where it had them and then it had a couple other things that you could click on. So you can actually build ad extensions into it, which extends physically the size of your ad, but also gives the searcher more things to click on, right? They might have typed in window treatment St. Louis when really they're looking for custom draperies, right? So it's likely that they might actually click down here under this custom draperies, which is great for us because it's a better customer experience because they probably landed on a custom draperies related landing page in that case. So some really cool things you can do with the ad extensions and the phone number as well. This again is a call tracking number that Google is issuing. That if somebody calls that number, Google tracks that ad back to, or tracks that call back to that ad generating that particular phone call. Here's an example, just a different way of showing the ad extensions in kind of an inline format, but you can see how much more room these guys are getting versus their competitors. Now, when it comes to landing pages, again, make sure that they have an obvious next step. Don't always just dump people to your homepage. That's probably the worst thing that you could do, quite honestly. And then there are other platforms out there that are also important. And I've kind of covered Google Ads in most detail today. But we're rolling out a lot of Facebook retargeting ads. So maybe not so much Facebook ads generically. The reason we kind of shy away from Facebook ads is because people are on Facebook looking for cats and grandbabies, right? It's more of an interruption style marketing. We don't necessarily see that it works very well for a lot of our clients. However, the retargeting side does work well. And what that is somebody comes to the website, comes to your website, clicks the back button, goes somewhere else, then later they see ads for yours. And we'll talk more about that in a second. But other networks that are potential places to advertise, Pinterest, Nextdoor, this middle one here is Nextdoor. They recently released an ad platform. Had a couple clients do some Nextdoor ads. The feedback hasn't been great, but I can definitely see an advantage, especially for maybe the people on the higher end. If you're doing higher end projects and you can specify by zip code, and you can do this in house as well, kind of, sort of more like by region. But you can, maybe show some ads in there. Of course, I just mentioned house. Yelp. I've had mixed feedback on Yelp. I have a client who swears by Yelp and spends a lot of money on Yelp advertising, and others can't stand it. I'm probably on the side of not a fan of Yelp. They've been kicked out of Google twice, the Google index, for kind of one client said mafia style techniques that they do from time to time. Got a great platform. People use it, but maybe a little shady from time to time. So does that matter if you're generating leads? Maybe not. So anyway, those are some other platforms. There are others out there as well. Bing Ads is probably another big one. Is if you're targeting an older demographic, Bing Ads is definitely worth putting money into as well. Now, when it comes to remarketing or retargeting, this is kind of how it works. People visit your website, they're tracked, they go somewhere else, maybe to Facebook or something like that, and suddenly they see an ad for your business. They click that ad, they come back to your website. So these are great for brand awareness and just for following up on potential customers that maybe spent, a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes on your site, or they looked at specific pages. Then you can show them ads related to the pages that they looked at. There's some really cool things you can do with the remarketing side, not expensive either. So definitely worth looking into. Also, our clients all get access to Email Boomerang now, which is a really cool tool similar to this, where somebody visits your website. Put my website up there just as an example. Somebody visits our site, Email Boomerang reverse engineers who that visitor is and actually sends them an email. Thank you for visiting our site. Here's a little bit more about our business, something like that. This is a great list building tool for when you start doing newsletters, things of that sort. It is super cool. So that's something else that's kind of new in the world of online advertising. Review real quick. Conversion tracking. Absolutely have to have this in place so that you know where your money's going and what leads it's generating. Make sure you break all of your campaigns or break your campaign into smaller ad groups. Don't forget about the different keyword match types. And this is something that, quite honestly, over time, as you're running ads consistently, you can really start to wrench down on the ads and what's working, what's not working, kind of cut away, a lot of the chaff and just get a lot more specific that your ads are just generating lower click rates and lower lead cost. Sorry about that. Lower lead cost over time. Don't forget about negative keywords. So you're kind of, constantly doing a little kung fu and chopping those out as time goes on. So you're not wasting your money. Obviously, write compelling ads. Consider your personas, understanding who that person is and their pain points, what they're trying to solve, what they're trying to get done. Leverage those ad extensions to make your ad really stand out from a lot of the other ads that are on Google or on these different networks, so that yours sticks out and you just get more chances at eyeballs as well. And then land your visitors on smart landing pages that are built specifically for conversion. They're built specifically to get those appointments, get them to pick up the phone, whatever it is you're trying to do on that page. Have those pages built to convert. Last thing I wanted to mention was costs. So a lot of our clients come to us for SEO, and that really is our bread and butter, and that's what we are really, really good at. The problem with SEO, unfortunately, is it's not fast. You can say, okay, get started, and it could be 4 to 6 months before you really start to see it ramp up and start to generate good ROI and great ROI, quite honestly, over time. So the way to supplement that in the meantime is pay-per-click. And a lot of our clients will do both. If they have the budget, they'll do both. And this is a great way to really ramp up a brand new campaign when you're really wanting to start generating more leads. When it comes to costs, most of our clients are spending $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month on the pay-per-click ads. And then the two dotted lines here, what happens a lot is as the SEO ramps up and finally starts to generate what we would call organic leads, probably about 50% of our clients pull back on that pay-per-click budget. Okay, now we've got this machine working, generating leads consistently. We can kind of pull back on that. The other 50% say, you know what, it's working really well. Let's just supplement an already well-running SEO program and just kind of double down on eyeballs, on potential ways to get more leads. So there's kind of a mix, it goes both ways. But that is how we are experiencing it as a marketing company for window treatment and awning companies across the country. So what else do we got here? Now let's skip this. There we go. KPIs. That's the last thing I wanted to mention. I wanted to make sure that you are talking, when you're talking to a company that's going to help with your pay-per-click, make sure that you do have some very specific KPIs in place. Obviously, how many leads you generated, what was your total investment, and then cost per lead is a huge piece of that. And at the end of the day, cost per click is another big one down here at the bottom. And CTR is click-through rate, or how many out of all the people that saw your ads, how many actually clicked through to that ad. In this case, 1.9%, not great. We have some clients that are 10, 12% click-through rate because they've been running them for so long. Their ads are super tweaked and super good, and they're generating, really good click-through rates, things like that. And that just comes over time, quite honestly. But definitely something to be thinking about. All right. If you're hiring an SEO or a pay-per-click person, a couple of things that you should definitely be aware of. How much of my budget goes towards what I'm spending on AdWords versus how much am I paying you to build all this out? What do you do about different ad extensions? Do you track all of the different types? Do you have some KPIs in place? Will you be setting up specific landing pages for each ad group? And then, do you do some sort of like A/B testing where you're testing out different landing pages, different ad copy, things of that sort? Definitely some things to think about when you're going to get somebody to help you out with that. And then, of course, ad extensions. I mentioned that. And then what are our targets in terms of cost per lead and ROI? All right, let's talk about free stuff. I wanted to get this in, and then I want to make sure to get Q&A. If anybody has any questions, I want to make sure I get everybody's questions answered as well. So free stuff. Okay, never mind. Q&A first. So are there any questions? Does anybody have any questions about anything that I covered that I can make sure to clarify? You can unmute if you'd like to just talk, or you can put something in the chat box. Either way works great. I want to make sure everybody has their questions answered before I go on. Let's see, Christy, I've never done any Google ads at all. Is it pretty easy to navigate and create ads? It is. They make it very easy for you to spend your money, which is great. It's not terribly difficult. I think just take a lot of these things that we talked about today into consideration, and make sure that you set a maximum budget, because if you don't, they'll just keep spending. And if you've never done ads before, Christy, reach out to me and I'll get you a promo code for some free ads that will help you kind of ramp up and spend some of their money tweaking it before you start spending some of your own. But overall, pretty easy to navigate. There's a Google Ads Express that makes it pretty easy. What ads do you want to run? What keywords do you want to run them for? Here's a list of potential keywords you might want. They make it pretty easy from that standpoint. So you might want to consider the Express. Now, the bad thing about the Express is, again, it's pretty generic and overarching, and you could end up spending more than you want to per lead, but it's a good starter. And then what you can do is move over to the regular dashboard, the regular version of Google Ads, and get a little bit more specific about your negative keywords, things of that sort. So that's probably a good way to start. Ido, I'm not sure how to say it. I'm sorry. I just opened a new company. I called the company LE Design. Should I change the name to LE Window Treatments or LE Shades? In other words, kick out the design. Boy, that's a tough one. There are some advantages to having a keyword in your URL, in your business name, and especially from the Google My Business platform, the 3-pack of ads. You have to use your real business name in there. So it has to be your real business name. So if your real business name has the word window treatments in it, it's more likely you're going to show up for those things. Whereas if your business name is LE Design, you can't put LE Design window treatments, shades, shutters, blinds in Memphis or wherever you're at, right? You can't do that in the Google Map system and the Google Ads in there. So that could get a little tricky. I'm not going to tell you to change your brand name because there's a lot of work involved in doing that, but there are some advantages to that. And of course, having it in the URL as well. LE Window Treatments might get you a couple more eyeballs than ledesign.com, something like that. Hopefully that helps. Christy, gotcha. Thanks so much. I'll definitely reach out when we get ready to move forward. I'm relocating and not quite ready now. Okay. Well, hopefully you're relocating somewhere warm this time of year. This is when I start complaining about the cold weather a lot. So, all right. Any other questions that I can cover today? I want to make sure everybody's happy with what I've covered. Let's see. It does. I literally just opened. So not much branding done yet. Maybe this is a good opportunity to look into that idea. Yeah, it might be. I mean, you could get another DBA. I'm in Missouri, so I think another DBA is like $7 or $12 or something like that. So that's an idea. All right. I think we've covered everything. I don't see any other questions. I do appreciate everybody's time today jumping on. A couple things. If you want a book, I have 2 books. Obviously, both of these books here, I'll drop them both in the mail to you today. All you have to do is go to wtmarketingpros.com/book, get me your address, and I'll put these in the mail to you. I'll be happy to do that. And keywords. If you're unsure what keywords to kind of start with, there's a bunch of free ones out there. We've put them all together in one little document. There's no paywall. You don't have to put in your email, anything like that. Just go to wtmarketingpros.com/keywords, and you'll see the options there where you can actually just download those. Also in there is average search volume over 30 days. So how many times that keyword was searched in the last 30 days. So that'll give you a good idea of, search volume, competition, how difficult it's going to be to get those. Sorry, somebody's asking about the books. wtmarketingpros.com/book will get you the book, get you both of them. I'll put them in the mail for you. wtmarketingpros.com/book. You bet. All right. And of course, if you are wanting to really kind of blow up your business in 2022 and really get a great advantage on it over the next couple of months, I'd love to chat with you about your goals, what you're thinking of doing, what you're hoping to do finish out this year, what you're wanting to do next year, how are you going to get there next year. I'd love to be part of that conversation and see if there is a way for us to help and if there's a good fit. WTMarketingpros.com/strategy will get you onto my calendar and we can chat then. Again, I do appreciate everybody jumping on today. Hope you learned something great. And you can always give me a call for 314-470-1180 or just visit the website. It's probably the best way to do it because then you can actually get on my calendar, WTMarketingpros.com/strategy. Christy said, looking forward to chatting. I'll be in touch when I'm ready. Awesome. Thanks, Christy. Appreciate you jumping on today as well. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great day. Take care.